Okay, so so if you have an education, where'd you get it? From who? From where? From what? You can't steal an education. You can't steal anybody. You can't steal an education. But if you have one, where'd you get it? From who? From where? From what? And another thing, set this education stuff aside. Do you know there's a lot of opposite enemies amongst each other? And if you keep on trying to get somewhere with your opposite enemies, they're gonna get pissed off and they're gonna do something. You know, let's take it back to biblical. So, back when it was biblical, opposite enemies and wars, they'd be out on these plains amongst each other in, let's say, cities or camp encampments, and they wouldn't be too far apart, and they'd be large amounts of them. And there's this one specific time that they had this guy amongst one of the, I think it was the I don't know, but I don't want to say any names or anything, but and their opposite enemies had beef with one person and their opposite enemy camps. So they went to their opposite enemies and said, and they go, why are you trying to go to war with us? We didn't do anything to you. And he said, we're not after you. We're after one person. In other words, that's just an example that even in biblical times, opposite enemies were. It's just an example. That's all. It's just an example. But these days, 2022, hopefully 2023, if you keep pressing your obstinate enemies about your beef with them, and they're not even coming after you, and you're persistent and you're consistent with pressing your obstinate enemies about your beef with them, and they're like, look, we understand your complaint about us, but shouldn't you find something better to do before you really piss? We don't care that you're upset about stuff we're not upset about. But if you keep on calling us and harassing us, we're going to show up and we're going to handle you. So stop complaining about what we already know. We're just as upset about it as you are, but you are just taking it way too far. So yeah, you got through to your obstinate enemies about your complaint. Now just leave it at that before you really piss them off and you really show up. Because the thing is even though sometimes people get a little bit too carried away with their own weapons and their own strength and their own power, not realizing that they're just carried away with their own shit, their own tactics, not knowing that you never know what your other obstinate enemies are equipped with, especially if you have an education, but it's not the type of education to defeat your obstinate enemies. So yeah, just stop harassing your obstinate enemy. Their education might hit a little different than whatever education you have that you're convinced about your. Some people are so convinced about themselves. Let me put it like this: I had to have some hands-on experience with this type of this type of stuff. So when you're confident in your own camp or even your own house, you're so confident. But what happens when you have to really go places where your ops and enemies are, where you're not in you're not in your environment, you're in their environment. So, and then you got to talk to them face to face, and they know that you're an op and an enemy, and they take it easy on you, and they're nice about it. But just stop bothering your ops and enemies. They understand your complaint about your beef with them, but they don't give a fuck. Stop bothering them. You're going to piss them off. They're going to do something. I got experience with this type of stuff. Because I really had to go to Detroit. Detroit, Michigan, Pontiac, Bloods, Crips, white supremacists, institution. And there's a black kid in there go, this place is for rich kids. And we're all older men. And he goes, this is a place for rich kids. Rich kids. And he was black. And he was my age. And we're all older men in that place. Talk about this is a place for rich kids. Yeah, so let me just put it like this. When you end up in an environment that you didn't put yourself in, but you gotta listen to them. And you can't say shit. Sometimes when you go too far with it, you end up with the option. They don't do anything to you. You just gotta sit there and you gotta take it all in, everything they say, and you gotta listen to them. You can't say anything. You're by yourself. There's more of them, and there's only one of you. You're not allowed to say what you feel about them. You gotta sit there and you gotta listen to what they have to say. I couldn't say anything I wanted to say. I had to listen to them. I couldn't speak my mind. I just had to sit there and, you know. This goes for y'all women too. It goes for the ladies too. It goes for the ladies too. You keep harassing your fellow sisters that are your ops and enemies, and they're gonna get you somewhere. They're not gonna touch you or do it. They're just gonna talk, and you're gonna listen, and you're not gonna be, and you're gonna realize there ain't anything you can say or do. And they're gonna talk to you. You're gonna have to listen. Women do the same thing. You guys ain't ready for any type of combat. I got in Detroit, I was like, ain't nothing I can do but sit here and listen to my ops and enemies say what they had to say. I wasn't prepared for any type of warfare, even a fist fight, even to throw a punch. So be careful, y'all, because you might be talking yourself into a war that you are not healthy and physically enough to be in combat. I actually had to go to Detroit, northern Detroit, Pontiac, Michigan. amongst people that you guys never would ever see or come close to, and I was face to face with them.